Hey, what's up guys? We are wrapping up towards the end of our Computex trip now, and I wanted to show you guys this. This is Team Group's new liquid-cooled M.2 SSD. Well, kind of. Since it's not hooked up to a loop, there really isn't any heat dissipation going on, but we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, a big thanks to MSI for making our Computex trip possible this year. You can check out their latest gaming and creator desktop range powered by 9th gen Intel processors via the link in the description. So when I first saw this product at the Team Group booth, I was actually really keen on it, knowing that M.2 drives can get seriously hot. Not to mention, one thing that's becoming extremely common on motherboards these days, especially on mini ITX motherboards, is to position the M.2 drive slot on the backside. This usually means that the M.2 drive is sandwiched between the motherboard and the side panel, leading to increasingly worse thermals, which could potentially mean throttling and slower read and write speeds. Even in ideal conditions though, in a mid-tower case on the front side of the motherboard, some M.2 drives can reach 90 degrees C plus pretty quickly. So what we have here is a coolant solution inside a small block mounted directly to an M.2 SSD. So as far as I know, the coolant is nothing special, basically normal water cooling coolant, and the obvious thing to note here is that it can't be hooked up to a custom loop. The reason for that is that there's just not enough room for a fitting on this drive full stop, unless you want to build a water block that extends the size of the drive, but that's probably not a good idea. Now in terms of the thermal improvement compared to just running the M.2 drive bare, Team Group said that they were seeing about a 10-degree improvement, which honestly is not that significant when you think about the work that has gone into this. In fact, when you compare that to a regular $10 M.2 drive heatsink, the thermal performance is going to be a lot better there. One thing I am interested in though is the potential for something like this, because I do think it's an interesting direction and kind of thinking outside of the box, whether that was Team Group's intention or not. At the moment, the design is for the NAND modules for the M.2 drive to heat up, transfer the heat into the block, and then the solution will soak up that heat to a limited capacity. That means that the heat isn't really being dissipated compared to where it is with a heatsink. Now, they do have a range of different colors here, and the coolant is easily replaceable via a little fill port at the end. There is a little black cover here that slides back and forth to hide that port too. So I don't think many of you will be buying these M.2 drives for the 10-degree improvement that you're going to get when compared to a bare M.2 drive, seeing as they will come with an additional cost. Most of you guys will likely be interested in these because they honestly just look pretty awesome. Now, it's important to note that Team Group are not a cooling company, so they might not be super interested in developing this product further in terms of improving the cooling performance, but I'm curious to see what would happen, for example, if the block was copper. What would happen if they changed the solution to maybe there's something else out there that's better for soaking up that heat. Maybe they could add a small fin array with the block to soak up a bit more heat as well. Basically, I'm just saying that this is a pretty cool Gen 1 product that might have some potential if a company wants to take it further. Some would argue though that there really isn't a need for a product like this in the market, seeing as if you were going to buy this thing, you probably have an enthusiast tier motherboard in the first place, and as we've seen from the recent Computex coverage, pretty much all X570 motherboards have an integrated M.2 heatsink and thermal pad on board. So Team Group, for the second iteration of this product, we do not want to see RGB illumination, we'd like to see the thermal design improved. Personally, I think it's a really cool product with some room to grow. They also had a new RGB SSD, and honestly, I'm not a fan. Personally, I think this looks like one of those cheap TFT LCD screens that I would not like to display in my system. But I am interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this one down below. One big plus side is that the SSD looks super clean without the LED illumination enabled. It kind of gives you a nice chrome mirror effect. So let me know your thoughts on these two products down below, and if you have any thoughts on how their new Cardea liquid M.2 drive could be improved thermally, I'd love to know that down below as well. As always guys, a huge thanks for watching, consider subscribing down below if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next one.